How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Happy Canada Day! Are you ready to get to know about this amazing country with beautiful landscapes, awesome animal, and polite and friendly people from all walks of life?
Ottawa is the capital of Canada. Toronto is the largest city by population and size.
Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. Provinces are Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, Saskatchewan, and the territories are Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut.
Canadian flag features two red and one white vertical bands. Red bands are placed on hoist and fly sides, and white band is in the middle. It is double the size of the red band. The red symbolizes prosperity and hope, and the white reflects the neutrality of the nation, peace and tranquility. 11-pointed red maple leaf is centered in the middle of the white band. This maple leaf represents the cultural heritage of Canada and the vast natural resources found in it.
This is Canadian coat of arms, and it is full of symbols and shows Canada's root in history. The shield in the center includes the royal symbols from England, France, Scotland, and Ireland. The three maple leaves on the bottom depict the origins of Canada. In 1994, a ribbon with the words Desiderantes Melioram Patriam was added to the arms. It is the motto of the Order of Canada, which means they desire a better country. Above the shield is a royal helmet. The Canadian colors of red and white flow around it. The lion above the helmet is a crest that depicts the independence of Canada. The lion is a symbol of courage and valor. The flags held by the lion and the unicorn at the side of the arms depicts Canada's founding nations, France and England. A blue ribbon displayed with Canada's motto, Amariuscat Mare, which translates to From Sea to Sea. At the bottom of the arms there are four flowers representing Canadian monarchy: the English rose, Scottish thistle, Irish shamrock, and the French fleur-de-lis. The imperial crown on the top informs that a monarch is Canada's head of state.
Canada is a vast and rugged land. It covers more than half the northern hemisphere. Canada is located in the northern region of North America. Canada stretches from Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean to Arctic Ocean. Canada shares the longest contiguous land border with United States.
Canada shares maritime border with Greenland in the northeast, and France oversees collectivity of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon in the southeast.
Canada has the longest coastline in the world, with a total length of over 243,000 kilometers.
Canada is the second largest country in the world in area, after Russia, with area of 9.9 million square kilometers. Three of Canada's Arctic islands, Baffin Island, Victoria Island, and Ellesmere Island, are among the 10 largest islands in the world. Canada is home to a northmost settlement, Canadian Force Station Alert, on the northern tip of Ellesmere Island, lies 817 kilometers away from the North Pole. Canada has over 2 million lakes, 563 of them greater than 100 square kilometers, which is more than any other country.
Canada has many geoclimatic regions including tundra, taiga, deciduous forests, temperate rainforests, and grasslands. Please watch the North America video to find out more about these amazing regions. The Appalachian Mountain Range extends from Alabama through the Gaspé Peninsula to the Atlantic provinces, creating a rolling hills indented by the river valleys. It also runs through parts of southern Quebec.
The Rocky Mountain is the longest mountain range in the world with almost 5,000 kilometers in length along the western part of Canada.
The St. Louis Mountains in the Yukon hold some of the country's highest mountains, including Canada's tallest, Mount Logan, at 5,959 meters. Western Canada has many volcanoes and it's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. There are over 200 young volcanoes. I didn't know that. The volcanic eruption of the Texacoan in 1775 was among Canada's worst natural disasters, killing an estimated 2,000 Nisga'a people and destroying their village in the Nass River Valley of North British Columbia. The eruption produced a 22.5-kilometer lava flow, and according to the Nisga'a legend, blocked the flow of the Nass River. Great Lakes are located in southern parts of Quebec and Ontario and hold 21% of the world's freshwater. The Gulf of St. Lawrence is the world's largest estuary. An estuary is where ocean meets the river. The largest river in Canada is Mackenzie River at 4,241 kilometers, and that is the second largest lake in North America. The Great Bear Lake is the largest lake in Canada.
Canada's nature. People don't usually associate Canada with forest and greenland, but Canada is home to luscious green land. Canadian forest covers 347 million hectares of land and make up nearly 9% of the world total forest area. Canada is the third most forested country in the whole world. You will see coniferous forest, deciduous forest, tempered rainforest in Canada, and they support so many wildlife. Canadian grasslands are large rolling terrains of many grasses, flowers, and herbs. According to recent studies and report, Canada is home to 308 types of plants and animals. You cannot find these anywhere in the world. They are uniquely Canadian. Some of them include large-headed woolly yarrow, sand dune, shod, capsulated willow, and Turner's willow. They are only found in Saskatchewan, Athabasca sand dunes. Purple paintbrush and Newcombie's butterwheat are endemic to British Columbia. These wood bisons are endemic to Canada. They have been crossing to Alaska for a short visit, but they always come back. Copper red horse and Angava seal are endemic to Quebec. So far, we looked at the geography and the environment of Canada. Let's look at the Canadian history and how Canada came to be. Sometimes between 30,000 and 15,000 years ago, prehistoric hunters made their way into Canada and spread across the country. By about 12,000 years ago, they had probably occupied at least all the southern portion of the provinces. As of about 5,000 years ago, Paleo Eskimos began to settle in Arctic regions of Canada. As the community grew and developed, they formed traditions and social organization based on status and wealth. They started building pit houses and formed villages. As the climate grew warmer and ice started to melt, they established some agriculture in the Great Lake regions. They built permanent villages of wood and bark houses. About 1,000 years ago, Vikings came to Canada. They are the first Europeans to enter Canada. They only stayed in Canada for a summer. You can see their old houses dug out in the National Historic Site in Newfoundland. In 1451, Iroquois Confederacy was formed and brought together 6 different nations lived around the Great Lakes area. Italian explorer John Cabot landed in Newfoundland in 1497 on behalf of England. However, England didn't colonize Canada then. French explorer Jacques Cartier climbed the Gulf of St. Lawrence in 1534 for France, and he planted the cross and called the place Canada. French geographer Samuel de Caplin established a French colony in Quebec City in 1608, and this became an Acadian population, and they grew significantly. Matthew de Costa was the first black person to come to Canada in 1608. He didn't come as a slave though. He came to serve as an interpreter to the governor of Acadia. By the early 1700s, more and more British and Scottish settlers came to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, and the conflict between them and the French grew, and a war broke. British won the war and founded Halifax in 1749 under this man, Edward Cornwall, and 6 years later, Acadians were forced out of Canada, except for Quebec City, which is controlled by the French. And this event is called Expulsion of Acadians. A few thousand Africans came to Canada in the 17th and 18th century as a slave. Some of them escaped United States and came to Canada and worked here. Britain eventually gained control over Quebec City after the battle called Plains of Abraham in 1759 and captured Montreal a year later. As part of the Treaty of Paris, signed in 1763, France renounced all claims to Canada, except for the 2 small islands off of Newfoundland coast, Saint Pierre and Miquelon. In 1793, Canada passed an act to abolish slavery, and any slave coming into Canada declared free. The War of 1812 is a significant part of Canadian history. It's the war between Canada and the US, and Canada won, and the border didn't change because of the war. That's a good thing. The new Canadians grew impatient with British rules, and the rebellions against the British rule started in 1837. Both English and French Canadians rebelled against the authorities and fought. British government sent Lord Durham to examine the situation. He strongly recommended a responsible government in the Durham Report and recommended to amalgamate Upper Canada and Lower Canada as United Province of Canada. Based on his recommendation, a responsible government was established in 1848. First half of the 19th century was a boom to Canada. Almost 800,000 immigrants came to Canada from British Isles. With a slow and steady progression toward independence, finally, a Dominion of Canada was formed in July 1st, 1867. The word Dominion was chosen very carefully to make a point that Canada is a self-governing colony of British Empire. John A. Macdonald became the first Canadian Prime Minister. At the time of the Dominion, Canada is made up of only four provinces: Quebec, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. Second independence movement by Manitoba's Métis people is called Red River Resistance. It was stopped by Canada. After that, Manitoba joined Canada in 1870. Canada started to grow bigger. In 71, British Columbia joined, and 1873, Prince Edward Island joined Canada. As Canada grew and expanded, Canadian government negotiated treaties with the First Nation people, organizing them in reserves and promising them happier future. This is called the Act of 1876, or simply an Indian Act. And as we know now, it didn't turn out as it was promised. Under the Indian Act, government started residential boarding school system to integrate indigenous people and quote civilize them. Canada further grew, and Alberta and Saskatchewan joined Canada in 1905.
Canada joined First World War. This helped British-Canadian relationship. The reputation Canadian troops earned helped Canada's new sense of identity. Full voting equality for men and women came in effect on January 1st, 1919 at the federal government level. Canada was hit hard by the Great Depression that began in 1929. Between 1929 and 1933, the GDP dropped 40% and unemployment reached 27%. British Parliament passed the Statute of Westminster in 1931, which acknowledged Canada as Commonwealth. It declared Canada as a separate state and provided for complete legislative autonomy, except for certain constitutional changes. Then World War II started. Canada played a major role in supplying food, raw materials, weapons, money, and training. Canada guarded the western half of North Atlantic Ocean against German U-boats and provided military support to allies.
Canadian economy started to grow during the war, and it continued after the war. With the new wealth, social programs such as universal health care, old age pension, and veteran pension were introduced and are still benefiting Canadians. Last but not least, finally, Newfoundland joined Canada in 1949 as the 10th province. During the Korean Wars in the 50s, Canada sent its troops as part of UN force. Quiet revolution took place in Quebec in the 60s. Quebec's nationalists demanded independence. Quebec held a referendum, and 59% of the Quebecers turned down, and Quebec remained with Canada till today.
In 1960s, Canadian government granted First Nations people the right to vote in federal elections without losing their treaty status. Before this treaty, they could vote, but they'd have to give up their right and Indian status. In 1965, Canada adopted the maple leaf flag. Canada Act of 1982 relinquished all ties with the British Parliament and became a completely independent country. Queen Elizabeth signed the Act in Ottawa. Canada is still part of the British Commonwealth as a constitutional monarchy that accepts the British monarch as its own. This is the story of how Canada was born.
Let's look at Canadians and their culture. Canada is a country of many nations. People with British and French heritage make up about half the population. First Nations are about 5%, and the remaining population is from all the other parts of the world. Canadian population is almost 38 million. It is one of the world's most thinly populated countries in the world. 90% of the Canadians live within 160 kilometers of the U.S. border. Canada relies upon immigration for population growth and social development. About 41% of current Canadians are first or second generation immigrants. Canadian culture is influenced by European culture and traditions, especially British and French. Indigenous cultures are strong in the Northern Territories and in some provinces.
Indigenous people of Canada include First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, and their traditions and cultures are different from each other. South Asians are the highest minority group in Canada, and their cultures are celebrated in many parts of the country. Chinese Canadians are second largest minority group, and Chinese cultures are also celebrated in many parts of the country. Black Canadians make up the third largest minority group in Canada, and Afro-Caribbean cultures are a major part in some of the areas. Canadians have lots of celebrations and festivals. Naturally, Canada Day is celebrated by all Canadians, regardless of their ethnicity, in every corner of Canada. Montreal Jazz Festival holds the Guinness World Record as the largest jazz festival in the world. Ottawa sets up the largest ice skating rink in the world at the Winterlode, and it is one of the best winter festivals in Canada. Just for Love Festival in Montreal is the largest comedy festival in the world. Montreal's International Fireworks Competition and Vancouver's Celebration of Light are two of the best firework competition in the world. The world best firework pyrotechnicians and the designers take part in this event. Quebec's Winter Carnival is the biggest winter carnival in the world. Calgary Stampede is recognized as the greatest outdoor show. Toronto's Caribbean Festival has grown significantly, and now it's ranked as North America's largest cultural festival.
Pride Toronto is celebration of the diversity of the LGBTQ community. It is one of the largest organized gay pride festivals in the world. There are many lantern festivals held around Canada to celebrate Chinese New Year. The world's largest indoor Chinese Lantern Festival was held in Toronto in 2018 to celebrate Canada and Chinese relationship.
Canada is a bilingual country. Both English and French have equal status, right, and privilege. Canada is a nation of many religious beliefs. Canada has no official religion and supports religious pluralism. Canadian government system is parliamentary democracy, a federation and a constitutional monarchy. Head of the state is Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen of the United Kingdom, and the head of the state is the Prime Minister of Canada, currently Justin Trudeau. Canadian provinces receive their power and authority from the Constitution Act, formerly called the British North American Act of 1867, and the territorial government have powers delegated to them by the Parliament of Canada. Canadian economy is one of the developed free market economies. Canadian currency is Canadian dollar. Canada's nominal GDP is around 1.7 trillion. It ranked 10th in the world. GDP per capita is around $46,000 and ranked 17th. Canadian economy is highly diverse. Real estate and rental industry contribute 13%. Manufacturing 10. Mining including oil and gas is 8. Finance, construction, healthcare brings in 7% each. As you can see, many industries contribute to Canada's economy. So rise or fall in one other sector won't impact the country significantly. Canada's largest export partner is United States at 75%, and the second largest is China at 5%. Canada's largest import partner is also United States at 51%, and the second largest is China at 13, and the Mexico come in third at 6. Canadian and United States economies are tied together significantly. Canada has free trade agreement with many countries. United States-Mexico-Canada agreement being one of the notable one. Canada has the third highest total estimated value of natural resources, valued at over $50 trillion in 2019. Canada has access to cheap source of energy because of its geography. Hydro is the highest share of generation at 60%. Canada's investment in renewable energy is growing and currently at about 7%. Canada is also one of the world's highest per capita consumers of energy. Canada has one of the largest commercial fishing and seafood industry in the world, thanks to having the world's longest coastline. Canada is the fifth largest exporter of agricultural and agri-food product in the world after EU, United States, Brazil, and China. This is surprising to many people as Canada is one of the coal countries. Toronto Stock Exchange is the ninth largest stock exchange in the world by market capitalization, listing over 1,500 companies. Canada is absolutely a beautiful country, and it's fascinating country at that. There are so many places in Canada to go and see. I know we cannot go to everywhere, right? So there are few places that we think it's a must see and we would love to go there one day.
This is Banff National Park. It covers area around towns of Banff and Lake Louise. You can enjoy Rocky Mountains, electric blue glacial lakes, waterfalls, and abundant wildlife.
This is Gronmo National Park in Newfoundland. It is categorically one of the best places to visit in Canada. It is truly a unique park, a place that packs astonishing amount of geological diversity, including coastal lowland, soaring mountain peaks, steep cliff, and clear lakes.
This is the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick, the highest tides on Earth. They rise and fall more than 50 feet in some places. You can see a small clip in our North America video of how the water levels change.
Toronto, Ontario is the place to be for the people who likes the hustle and bustle of the big city. There are so many tourist places like CN Tower, Aquarium, and Casa Loma. But you can travel the world in one day, maybe take a couple of days. You can visit Little Italy, have a pizza, Greek town, and maybe have a salad, Little India, and have a samosa, visit Chinatown and have a dim sum, and Koreatown and have a barbecue, Little Poland for some sausage, and Little Malta, all in one city. You could really do it in one day.
This is Quebec City in Quebec, the oldest walled city in North America. Quebec City has both European charm and sophistication alongside its unmistakable French-Canadian character. There's plenty of things to do, see, and eat over here.
Thank you for watching. Please let us know what you think. Did you learn something new, or are you surprised by any of the facts? Which of the must-see places you want to go?
Please subscribe and smash the like button. When you do, I get a candy. We are going to do United States of America next.